The Pete Carroll Show. The first word from the Seahawks head coach every Monday at 9:30 with Mike Salk. Brought to you by Pizza Hut on 710 ESPN Seattle.
Well, what a way to start this year's version of the Pete Carroll Show here on the Mike Salk Show. But after a fantastic Week 1 win on the road, good morning, Coach.
Yeah, this is the Mike Salk Show. What are you talking about, man? Let's go to the Salk Mines, man. Let's get what's up? Where you been?
Where have I been? I know I've missed this. I was trying management, and it turns out, Coach, I'm going to leave that to you. You're a people manager. You understand how to get the best out of folks. I just like coming on and squawking about football and baseball and psyched for hockey and all that.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks. It's fun being back. How are you doing?
Great, man. We had a really terrific weekend and had fun playing football. It was fun being there. Guys played like crazy, and a lot of things come together because of the way we managed the off season and how we managed our way through the camp and then the preseason games and all of that. Everybody had some questions, wondering what was going to happen, and we kind of banked on what we had learned the year before, and it worked out just fine. The guys played really hard, were tough, and ran and hit and did all the good things, and we were real healthy going in.
You're making some changes to some of your philosophies. You're adapting, it seems, a little bit as you get older. I mean, it used to be Earl Thomas was out there.
You think I'm stuck in the mud, man?
No, the opposite. I love it. It seems very much like you are looking and being creative and finding new ways to do things. Does that keep you excited?
I think if you either adapt or you fall apart and get crushed, you got to go. I'm probably more that way than the young guys, for whatever reason. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I keep pushing and staying real curious and to get better, and I think that's the only way to go. I don't know any other way to do it because to me, that's competing. So, we have had some good changes, and we made some smart changes, and I'm really pleased about that.
Well, one is obviously bringing in Shane Waldron. I've spent most of the last 3.5 hours talking about him. I've just been completely blown away, and I think most of our audience was as well, by what we saw from him and this offense, which was a total mystery to most of us, what it would look like actually seeing it with the starters in game action. What specifically do you point to with him and say, this is what he has brought to this new offense?
He's brought a wide breadth of commitment. He believes in a lot of stuff that we have talked about and tiptoed into and all that. That's just kind of it's become part of his coaching background, and that has to do with tempo and it has to do with ability to communicate. It has to do with what you can do. The potential of things, and he's got a big palette that he works from, and he can communicate it really well. He's really, really bright, and so it's just been really exciting to watch. And from the first time we started talking, I was fired up about him. But you never know. It's just conversation on the phone and Zooming and all that kind of stuff, and you hope. And just everything that's lined up has lined up, and he's been able to back it up. And what he did on game day yesterday was what he's been doing the whole time he's been on the practice field with us and in the meeting room. The way he talked, the way he operated, his expectations, his ability to communicate, his sense for what's going on, and it just carried over. And we haven't, we just played one game, but what the carryover occurred on game day, and he pulled it off, and so he did a great job.
I heard you say yesterday you've never seen such chemistry between a quarterback and a play caller. How does that manifest itself on game day?
They're talking the whole time. They're communicating the entire time, and I mean, even while Russ is at the line of scrimmage, they're talking. Not talking from Russ, but from Shane to Russ, and there's an ongoing conversation all the way up until there's no more time left about what we're seeing, what we're doing, what's happening, helping each other, and they do it together, and it was really fun to watch.
Was there a play that stood out yesterday that was sort of new or definitively Shane Waldron?
Well, let me. Yeah, here's one I'll give you. That our ability to sight and pick up the blitz. Why this is Shane Waldron is because he's open-minded enough to do things that we've done in the past. Russell has been able to strike you dead in blitz situations for years, and another coach might have said, "Well, that's not the way I do it," and his ability to draw from all of the good things. And we scored a lot of points last year, and we've done a lot of great things here. And it wasn't that we had to start all over again. And he was willing to learn and grow and incorporate. And so the two of them just bang, 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 and Russ got us exactly where he needed to get us. We picked up the pressure, and then the execution from the years of experience with Tyler, where they did that exactly the way it's supposed to happen, was, I think, an illustration of Shane's openness and creativity and really, his humility too.
Yeah, it all came together, sounded like this.
Look like they're playing single coverage outside. Russell looking for the snap. He gets it. Here comes the blitz. Russ going to let it fly down the middle of the field. Lockett is there. He's got it. Touchdown, Seahawks. Tyler Lockett, we love you, baby. Looks back over his shoulder and finds a beautiful rainbow pass from Russell Wilson against the blitz. A 23-yard touchdown strike, and the Seahawks go on top 6-3.
It's a beautiful catch if a center fielder makes it going over his shoulder, Jim Edmonds-like. But to do that wearing, I know I sound silly when I say this, but to do that wearing a helmet that in some way restricts your vision, I think is just truly amazing. How does Tyler make that play?
It would restrict your vision,
yes,
but obviously not Tyler's.
No kidding.
He just has. It was just one of those Tyler moments, and Russ moments that we've seen over the years. That it was just perfectly done, and just it was just like choreographed, and it was gorgeous. And I love that Tyler didn't know who about Willie Mays' catch when somebody made reference to it. Somebody said it on the sidelines to me, and then also that Tyler also told you he was doing it in pregame. He was working on that catch in pregame. And then all of a sudden here it is, and it pops up. It's great.
Maybe last thing on Shane, but this came up afterwards, and Justin likes to ask me to help him understand things, which usually I'm not very good at explaining after that. But I like asking you some of these football questions to help me understand. I've heard the term cover two beaters, and that Shane's offense has some specific cover two beaters. What does that mean, and how do we see those in a game?
Well, let's see, what do I want to tell you here? What it means is that when there's too high, you hear the terms about too high safeties, that, and that's basically represents people playing half field coverage where two safeties play half field and the corners are rolled up. Basically, that's the general way to look at it. And then you need coverage concepts that can attack that principle of coverage, and that's what coverage two beaters are. There's an array of them that you can call to try to beat those safeties back there, and where that coverage adds another defender in the under coverage, it's five guys under, some combination of that. It makes it harder to throw the intermediate routes and takes away the wide receiver. Sometimes you got to go up top and attack it, and so that's what coverage two beaters are.
Do the tight ends play a major role in that?
They can. Yeah, they can. It just depends on there's a variety of ways to do it. You're basically trying to spread the field and hurt those two safeties so they can't cover everybody.
Sure seemed like your tight ends were very involved in the offense yesterday and really came out well.
I really liked that. Just had a great game, and we're just starting to see what Gerald's going to do. Gerald will do so many things for us. He had a really nice game. Unfortunately, the stats don't count the other screen that he had when he made a beautiful run on. But he's going to get a lot of balls and coming his way, and he's going to be very alive on third down, very alive in the red zone, and a really go-to guy.
How was their blocking?
The tight ends?
Yeah.
They did fine. Really, Mike, we went against a team that was the number 2 team against the rush yesterday, a year ago, and they're better. They got a couple guys to add to their front seven, and we ran the ball average over 5 yards a carry against them. They allowed 3.7 or something, for the season last year. They were very difficult to run our base offense against when you look at the whole season of work. And we ran our things just like we've been counting on. And so that was a really good showing. So the tight ends had a big role in that, as did the guys up front.
Chris Carson seemed like he had a pretty big role in it as well. Would you say that number 32 looking so good? I mean, he was.
So good.
He looked pretty good yesterday. He was physical and violent and fast and everything that we've kind of come to expect with him.
Exactly, yeah. And to see us pop a short yardage play right off the bat, and get him out in the open, and he's mauling the guy on the sidelines over there. It was just great stuff. He hit a toss one time too that he just roared up in there, and he ran well with the ball after the catch too. So he did all the things that you hope Chris Carson's going to do, and he sent the message about who he is and really our running game. And so it was a great start in that regard.
First short yardage play of your season, you decide to run behind Gabe Jackson and Brandon Shell and just rely on those guys.
These guys are huge now. Have you seen Gabe Jackson?
He's a big boy.
He's a big fella now, and he's really good at coming off the ball, and he loves the attitude part of the game, and so it was great to give them a shot.
Well, we've gone this far. We haven't really talked about your defense, and shame on me. I know how much you love to talk about them, and for good reason after a really, really good start. Tell me about the rotational depth that you have up front and the ability to bring a lot of different guys in and keep them fresh.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Rolodex. I thought Clint did a really good job of managing that. Only one time did we have to sprint a guy on late. We do have a variety of guys, and what I think I saw yesterday was what we had been seeing all throughout camp and in some of the preseason games, that there's a variety of guys and a variety of styles of players that we can go to, and I thought Darryl had a very good first game, Darryl Taylor, and we saw Benson Mayowa played really well in his role. Carlos really forced the issue. Alton Robinson did some nice stuff late in the game. He didn't get as much play time as I wish he could have got. But Rasheem Green really was on fire, which he's been like that the entire camp. We moved his position and changed him, and he's totally taken to it. He gets a lot more edge play, and he just looks like a terror, and I'm just so excited to see him. We forget how young he is. He's still just a young kid, and he's growing at it, and man, is he coming to life. So there's a lot of different factors that support it, and the guys inside played well too, so we're way ahead of where we started last year, and so I'm hoping we can find a really good combination of rotations that makes those guys really, come to life.
Maura was telling me that Rasheem Green he's younger than D. Eskridge. Despite being in his third year and D just getting his first start, he's younger than D. Eskridge is. You've said before, I know you don't think I listen to you, but I do, that you have a developmental program, right? That part of what your job is as a coach.
I don't remember saying you don't listen to me.
Well, listen carefully. I try to remember these things.
We're developmental coaches, and where you want me to go with that?
Well, with Rasheem specifically, how has he developed, and what has been your goal with him and his development over the last 3 years to get him to today?
He came to us really young, and we always thought of him as just just kind of a young pup just getting going, and always hoping for the upside. He's really bright. He's really tough. He's got great length, and he's explosively strong. I just think we've found a better spot for him to show his stuff, and you've noticed the guys we're playing on the edge. Those guys they have a factor in the rush, and they have a factor in the run, and they do some pass stuff too. And he's just been playing he's just cut it loose so well all camp that it showed up in the games. I mean, it was a clear example of a guy who brought his practice work and all that to game day, and we're really excited for him.
Coach, I saw you afterwards say you were pretty fired up about how well your team traveled. I saw you talking about that in the locker room post game. Why is that so meaningful?
Because we got so many games on the road and the way out there, they keep sending us. I saw that somebody said we were 12-1 or something like that, on these games, and the next team that had winning was 5-2, the next best team. Well, that means we played twice as many games, or we out there that much more than everybody else. So we've had to adapt to that and get used to it, and we've developed a whole rhythm for it. And I was excited to take the new guys through it, in hopes that it would work, and we could have a good selling point. And we had a perfect weekend in that regard. It was a blast. We stayed fired up the whole time. We were energized and charged. Which is part of it. When you're playing 10 o'clock in the morning, you got to get ready to go. And so, you got to wake up. And so our guys were campaigning to get that done, and we pulled it off again.
I thought the pregame tribute and anthem, the 9/11 stuff was really, really well done by the league. As you're sitting there and we were realizing there are guys on your team that were infant. I mean, they were really young and probably don't even remember what happened on September 11th, 20 years ago. What were you thinking about as that was happening, and have you had some of those conversations with the young guys on your team?
Yeah, well, we did talk about it and showed a little tribute to make sure that everybody was tuned in. I think everybody knows because it's so publicized, but yet they weren't there for the experience of it and what it felt like, and they can't remember where they were and when you're 2 years old and all that kind of stuff. But I think everybody is aware. It's really hard to know the impact of what that was, and really the impact of what happened is still with us today, and it's changed us in a lot of ways. Not always all the good stuff. It's been a lot of hard stuff that's taken place that we've lived through, and we've hopefully we don't want to forget, but more so we need to get better, and we need to remember how to get better and not repeat the same mistakes and problems that we've had in the past. And so it was a very difficult weekend, I thought, just being immersed in it, but for good reason. We needed to be, and we need to continue to grow from it, and that's what I hope happens. I hope our guys do too, and so we went kind of heart to heart. I thought the tribute was well done and well stated.
Injury updates, just to kind of figure out where everybody's at. Rashad Penny would be the first. You said it was more precautionary to get him out. Do you think we'll see him this week?
Yeah, it's a little bit more than that. Yeah, he's got a little bit of a calf issue, and we'll determine next couple of days how we handle that. But we got to take care of him, make sure that he gets back. He looked great when the couple carries that he had, but it got tight on him. So we've done some tests and stuff like that. We'll let you know the next couple of days. But we got to take care of him.
And D. Eskridge?
That concussion deal, you just got to wait and see how he bounces back. He felt fine last night and was saying he was good and all that. But he and Penny Hart also got hit in the head. Those guys both have to go through the protocol, and we got to figure them out.
Eskridge is quick, huh?
Yeah, he's really explosive.
I did not realize he was that kind of fast until we saw him in the open field.
He's not just fast and explosive, but he knows how to use it. You'll see him when he gets openings. Man, he knows how to hit it. And he's got good feel for blocks and setting things up and all that. He's going to make some really big plays this year.
Clearly, his first couple of touches are in the running game on those jet sweeps. But how do you see his development in the passing game, and what should we expect from him in that part this year?
There really isn't anything he can't do. He can run. He's a good route runner. He's got fantastic catching range, really strong hands. He's really good with the ball all out and away from his body on the deep stuff. So there's nothing that you can't go to him with. But we're going to take it slowly so that we don't overload him. We want to make sure that he comes along with confidence and success, and then he'll grow fast if we do that.
It's funny. I remember when we first started doing this a decade or so ago, Golden Tate was here and others. I remember a lot of conversation then about how it took wide receivers longer to figure out in the NFL, and it might take them 2 or 3 years before they really kind of hit their stride. Is it all the spread offenses that we're seeing in college and all it just seems like that's no longer the case, at least the same golden rule that it was maybe a decade ago?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of growth that needs to take place, and some guys are just better at it than others. I don't remember if we talked this way about it, but some guys that are really natural football players, just natural athletes, guys that things come easy to, they don't pick up all of the details along the way. They're able to do stuff by kind of doing it on their own and kind of making things up, and they always can kind of make things happen, for the positive and all that. And the discipline that it takes to be really accountable doesn't always come to them real easily, and so it just depends on the athletes, and how it comes down. But I do think, in particular, Eskridge was a split end, and he played out on the edge and played. He never got in the slot to speak of, and we didn't know what he could do. We never saw it on film, so we had to figure that out, from the workouts that we saw, and then when we finally got him on the field, and as soon as he got here, he could do everything, and there wasn't any restrictions. You could say he was a limited player just going off his film, but he that was just because of what they decided to do with their scheme and all. So he's ready to roll, but again, we're not going to overload him. We want to make sure that we bring him along properly.
Well, and he's got a couple pretty good wide receivers in front of him. We talked a little bit about Tyler, but I mean, the weapon that is DK Metcalf and just the freak show athleticism and everything else. I know he was quiet in the first half of that game, and then he kind of made his big play late. How good can he be this year?
He's really getting into it now. If you watch the big comeback that he ran and he spun the guy around, the guy was 10 yards away from him because he was worried about him running by him. That impact, he's no secret anymore. These guys know who he is. They know how fast he is. They know kind of the dynamics that he brings, and it's a factor. And so. There's no restrictions to DK's game. He can do everything. We move him all around. He's playing inside and outside. It was just unfortunate. The ball could have gone to him a number of times early on, but the ball went somewhere else successfully, and so we were okay. He was great about it. He didn't care. He just was having fun playing football. You notice he tried to rile some guys up, and he got caught by it. He got bit, and he found out one of the new limits, He tested it.
Well, thank God they're changing that rule, Pete. I mean, I know people were very concerned about the amount of trash talking in the NFL. Where does this even come from? Why would the NFL possibly think that is something they need to limit?
I don't know. A year ago or whenever it was, maybe 2 years ago now, when they decided they're going to let celebrations
Right.
go, I thought that was a really good move, and this kind of looks like a step in the other direction. But it is about respect. They wanted to see respect demonstrated in the game, and they don't want to lose that. And this is one way to try to maintain, some adherence to that. So we'll see what happens.
They were talking about it on the broadcast. 2 days from now, on Wednesday, you're going to turn 70. So happy early birthday, 70th birthday, a milestone.
Appreciate
You're going to become a septuagenarian, which is exciting.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. I don't know what that is.
Well, it was interesting when they were talking about it on the broadcast, they put up the other coaches who have coached into their 70s, and Marv Levy's name certainly stood out to me as somebody that I watched. And
that can't be right, because hold on for a sec. When Marv Levy was coaching and they used to talk about how old he was, I thought he was so freaking old.
So did I.
There's no way, And all of a sudden, they throw me in there with Marv. And my goodness, that was a little bit surprising, because I used to think he was just as old as the hills.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because when
Yeah.
Marv seemed old at 70, and he was like, oh yeah, and then there's all these coaches, and then there's Marv. Did you ever imagine you would be coaching at the same age as Marv was at that time?
No, I never really thought about it. I can't tell you I ever had that thought. That didn't even seem possible. So I never had the thought.
Did you know him?
Yeah, and I had great respect for him. I was in the East, for years, all during their best years, and trying to defend the K gun and all that. So I knew him well enough, and then grew to really respect him and all of that, of course, and have a nice little relationship as it is. But I always thought there's no way. How could you be coaching when you're there? Anyway, so obviously that I've changed my perspective on that too.
What are there elements of that K gun that are still seen in the NFL today?
Yeah, sure.
It seems like one of those offenses that people have built on.
Yeah, guys don't know that they're doing it, but yeah, it was a fantastic experience and experiment that they did back in the day. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I went to Marv in the offseason and spent time talking to him about the background and the history and the philosophy and the approach and all of that, because I wanted to understand it again. And it's prevalent. People just don't give him credit for it. It's kind of like they're lost up there in Buffalo somewhere. Nobody cared that much about it, even though they went to all those Super Bowls and all. They did a marvelous thing with their football, and were way ahead of their time, obviously. And it's a classic for Marv Levy.
You excited to get fans back at home base, now Lumen Field on Sunday?
Yeah. I hope that they have a ball. I mean, they've missed a lot of really cool stuff, and we weren't able to put in front of them last year some great football games, some great moments, and great opportunities to be proud to be a 12 and all that. I hope we can kick that off again this time around and get it rolling. There's some guys I can't wait for them to see. There's some players I can't wait for them to see Jamal, and see what he does and how he plays the game. There's stuff that's happening that you can't see on the TV screens sometimes, there's just a lot of highlights. This is going to be really fun for our fans to enjoy.
There was some debate here in the building this morning about whether or not you guys won before the fourth quarter yesterday. Can we say that you won not in the fourth quarter yesterday, or can you still only win the game in the fourth quarter?
You can't win until the fourth quarter. No, you can't say that.
But you did make it a little easier in the fourth quarter this time.
It was nice. Yeah, it was a nice finish. We felt in good control. And really, Mike, this game was crucially valuable to us, because we looked at this team as a real championship club. They have all of the elements, and then we were able to put a game together like that. Take great pride in that win to start the season.
Coach, congratulations! Happy early birthday! 1-0, coming home for a home game on Sunday against a Tennessee squad that is 0-1. We're looking forward to talking throughout the year. Thank you.
Feels great to talk to you, Mike. Glad you're back. Let's kick butt, man. See ya.
Thanks, Coach. Really appreciate it. There's the Pete Carroll Show. We do that every day after the game, so usually on Mondays at 9:30 here on 710 ESPN Seattle. He seemed pretty fired up, but in a nice kind of a calm Pete Carroll today, right? Not bouncing off the walls, just like, yeah, my team's good. At least that's what I got out of it. Like, yeah, these guys are good. Shane Waldron's good. Russ is good. I got some weapons. I got an offensive line. He obviously thinks more about Indy than we did today, and I think he's probably right, at least in terms of the defense. That's a pretty confident Pete Carroll.
I was happy that he agreed with more at the end there.
He did. He made it a little
waiting
easier.
for it.
You do have to win the game in the fourth quarter,
Yep.
but you can make it a little bit easier along the way. All right, we got to get out of here, make way for Jake and Stacy. I have a feeling Jake's going to be a little fired up about what Russ was able to do and the kind of shape Russ was in and the balls he was throwing all over the yard. So, yeah, I got a feeling Jake's going to be bouncing off
Saw
the balls.
Jake doing push-ups in the hall. He's ready to go.
Geez, here we go. All right, Jake and Stacy coming up next. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We'll talk to you then.